Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about Miyabi versus Asraa Yao versus Evelyn. Who should you go for? But before I go into the long answer of this question, I would like to let you know that if you don't care about maxing endgame rewards, it doesn't really matter for which character you will go. But if you still care about power and having something strong, even if you don't care about maxing endgame content rewards, you will still find the answer within this video. And of course, the usual disclaimer, pull for who you like. Like I already said, if you're not going for max endgame content rewards, I don't think you have to sweat that much about it. We'll start with Miyabi because she's the current banner. Afterwards, we'll go into Asraa Yao because she's supposedly to be the first phase of 1.5, followed lastly by Evelyn. So with Miyabi, if you haven't already pulled her, she's pretty much the premium DPS. Very easy to play, at least on release. As the game gets harder, or should I say as the game gets increased inflated stats on enemies and more gimmicks, mechanics and so on, eventually you will have to do proper rotations with Miyabi to get your rewards, and it's not going to be necessarily as on her release. She does also have a lot of flexible teammate options. You can play all sorts of things with her on release at least, but as the time progresses, you will want to play her actual stronger variation of teams, that is. So things like with Piper or Sokakus, if you're playing stuff like that right now, it's not going to be necessarily as effective in the future with the way the stats are getting increased on enemies within the endgame content. So if you do pick Miyabi, you cannot really go wrong with her. Also, if you're willing to get her teammates such as Yanagi on rerun and stuff like that, you can definitely enhance this team further with Miyabi. You can also consider going for Asraa Yao. She will also work great with Miyabi if you already have Miyabi. We'll go over her stuff very soon within this video. Regarding Miyabi V-Engine, it's a pretty good pickup. It's a massive upgrade for her. She does not have any flexible option because she's a crit scaling character as anomaly. So only V-Engine you can have with crit stuff is her signature. Also the buffs it provides, it is definitely very useful. However, I could argue that you could get her V-Engine on a rerun, because right now she's perfectly fine even without the V-Engine. You're gonna have an easy time, and whenever the content gets harder with stats increases and stuff like that, then you could consider going for her V-Engine on a rerun. But of course, if you also want to get big power right away, you could go with V-Engine right now. Also, personally, what I like about Miyabi is her hitbox of attacks. They're very massive AoE. You can effectively hit enemies very easily. So if there's any type of wave content of AoE enemies, I believe she will always have uses there. And even sometimes you might have some enemies in the future that might try to like jump mid-air or try to kind of like evade you, but her hitbox would still be able to hit them potentially. So I think it has very nice application. However, do note that future content might not even have wave of enemies, for example in shield defense. Perhaps there might be a third mode where they put more of AoE content, wave-based content in there, or it might be something completely different as well. So overall with Miyabi, you cannot go really wrong. She will make the game easier, and she should be fine also throughout the next year, especially if you're willing to get her signature and her best-in-slot teammates. I don't think you'll have a problem. However, if you do not plan to get her signature and just play not with her best options, then it will not be as a smooth ride as on her release necessarily, but nevertheless, it's a great pickup. Before I talk about Asraa Yao, I would like to let you know that you can support me for free by subscribing to this channel. So if you like this type of content, feel free to subscribe, smile. I'll wait here for a couple of seconds so you can do that. And thank you very much for your support. And now let's continue with Asraa Yao. So Asraa Yao is an amazingly strong universal support. Even after the latest changes, she's still very pretty much on top of a choice to get as a first limited 5-star support. You cannot go wrong by picking Asraa Yao. She will effectively buff the best out of stun DPS, but currently on her release, she's also gonna be good for teams that have primarily DPS within the stun. Personally, with Asraa Yao, it reminds me a bit of Ruan Mei situation if you play or played Honkai Star Rail. Effectively, a good good universal support on release, but eventually will end up being played primarily for a specific X type of teams. Because as we get more supports, there will be more niches and things like that, of course. But I believe Asraa Yao will always have a place with things like Miyabi, Zuyuan, and Evelyn, and probably some other upcoming characters as well. She does also provide a heal with her ultimate, which kills everybody. How much will this be valued? Depends on the type of content we're getting. Things like tower and stuff like that, you definitely would appreciate having a heal. So we might be getting some new endgame modes where this healing could be even more useful. But overall, she is a great buffer. She does provide good attack buff, like 1200 attack buff for your entire team. And she also provides a damage buff of 20% and a critical damage buff of 25%. So she does provide quite strong buffs. She can have some personal damage as well. She also does provide more energy for your teammates. It also allows you to trigger more quick assists with your team. So it's a very good character overall. You cannot go wrong by picking her up. However, I would still recommend that you do pick some strong DPS on the account first, and immediately after that going for something like Asraa Yao. And now let's talk about Evelyn. So with Evelyn specifically, her DPS is supposedly around the same as Zuyuan, so she is not necessarily stronger than Miyabi. However, on her release, there's going to be a lot of fire weakness content, stuff that will definitely make her look really good. However, if you're looking for something that's like super strong DPS, then obviously that would be Miyabi. But if you want to get Evelyn because of her style and the jiggle, smile, then you can still go for her. She does have pretty good out of stun DPS. As for her teammate options, she has quite many options actually. The best in slot would be something like Lighter plus Astra. I am aware all of you guys probably skipped Lighter or haven't even played the game when Lighter was out. So if you don't have him, you can use alternatives instead of Lighter such as Chingy or Koleda. But do know that Koleda is going to be much weaker than Lighter variation, of course. As for the support slot, you can go with Lucy or Nicole. You definitely have options, so it will work. Her signature V-Engine is a significant upgrade as well. You can go for it if you want to make your Evelyn stronger. However, I would recommend trying to get the teammates first if you can, such as Asraa Yao, and then looking into potentially getting her V-Engine. Now within this part of the video, I would like to have my overall thoughts / priorities of these three characters. So like I've said, you cannot go wrong with pulling Miyabi. She pretty much works great on release and will be strong throughout the next year for sure, especially if you have her signature V-Engine / her actual best in slot teammates. You should have no problem whatsoever. However, if you don't have that stuff, don't expect it to be as easy as it is right now with Miyabi. Asraa Yao is also an amazing choice to pick up. As soon as you have a good DPS on your account or something you're comfortable playing with, I would highly recommend that you do pick Asraa Yao as well, because she will work pretty much with everything on release. And if you already do play with Miyabi or you're considering Evelyn, you will want Asraa Yao within those teams as well. And it should work fine throughout the next year for those two characters specifically as well. And amongst these three characters, I would say that the easiest skip in terms of like how strong and what they bring to the account, I would say it's Evelyn. But of course, if you do like the jiggle, you can still go with Evelyn, but then I would highly recommend you do try to get Asraa Yao for your Evelyn to make Evelyn stronger. So basically, the character pull priority, in my opinion, assuming you care about endgame content, max rewards, would be Miyabi followed into Asraa Yao, and lastly Evelyn. If you are skipping Miyabi and let's say you prefer more Evelyn, then you could just go Evelyn and then into Asraa Yao, for example. I also like to have a V-Engine pull priority, assuming that you already have the characters or you pull the character first and then you're wondering which V-Engine should you prioritize for. Obviously, Miyabi V-Engine is the highest of the highest priorities. I would personally highly recommend to go for this one, but let's say you did skip Miyabi, you don't want to play Miyabi and you're going for Evelyn, then of course you would prioritize Evelyn Evelyn V-Engine over Asraa Yao's. Asraa Yao V-Engine as a support, I would prioritize it as the last. I generally recommend in this type of games to try to get DPS V-Engines first for your favorite characters that you want to play, so you can make it easier. I will also provide some calcs made by Leifa, specifically Evelyn calcs. If you're interested what type of teams you can play with Evelyn, I'll provide it within the description down below, maybe even in a pinned comment. I'll also put within the description translated kits by Leifa as well, so if you want to see Asraa Yao, Evelyn and all that stuff in detail, it is within there. I intentionally avoided saying too many of the numbers and stuff on the screen because things can still change, and if they do, you should be able to see the changed updated kits within those links provided down below. So yeah, that's about it. If you did like this video, don't forget to give it a like. If not, you can always dislike, smile. So yeah, I guess this is it. I wish you a wonderful day and see you in the next video.